And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shivering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Plz. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Welcome back to the show, and what a show we have for you tonight. Oh yes, we've got exclusive Captain Dan tracks, because it's Talk Like a Pirate Day, yar! Yes, I won't be talking like a pirate, because you have no idea how much that does your throat in. I mean, really, my throat's not feeling too great this week. I'm sure I'll survive, but really, talking like that for 90 minutes? You gotta be kidding me. So yeah, two new Captain Dan tracks coming up a little bit later on, exclusively on WoW Radio. Oh yes, indeed. What else have we got? We're going to be discussing vehicles in Wrath of the Lich King. Yes, indeed. There are no trucks in World of Warcraft. Yet. Also, we'll be talking about the eternal homogenization problem. And no, that's not the same as the eternal pasteurization problem that the Taurens seem to have. This is the eternal homogenization problem. And is balancing killing variety? Certainly a possibility. We're going to think about that a little bit later on. Also, heirloom items. You've heard about heirloom items already, but I have a new theory for you. I have a new theory that they're introducing a brand new game mode. Yes, indeed, a new way to play, and I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later on in the show. And towards the end of the show, indeed at the end of the show, we will be doing one thing and one thing alone, and that is this. It's the illusion of choice. Yes. Illusion of choice. You get to email in for the last topic of the show. I'm actually going to try and expand the amount of content I've got on my show this week. I decided, hey, I was listening back to my show archives, as I usually do, to try and, pick fault with myself. And I'm like, it's funny, there only seems to be like 65 minutes of spoken content in this 90-minute show. So what about if we throw in an entire new section of speech? Yes. So I'm going to go, instead from 65 minutes of content, to 83 minutes of content, which leaves me a grand total of 7 minutes to play music in. Fun. We'll see how that one works out. It's going to be really short tracks. I'm going to try and squeeze it in and see what happens. Let's see how it goes. So yeah, Illusion of Choice. If you want to email in a topic for the Illusion of Choice, you can do so. Email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. And if I decide to choose your topic, yes, it is an illusion of choice, and I will do your topic towards the end of the show. And of course, last but not least, we'll cap off the show with our usual shout-outs. Coming up this week as well, an epic-length Nubcake news, clocking in at 7 minutes, which would, I believe, make it the longest one I've ever done. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. We shall see, we shall see. Now, loads of stuff to cram into the show, so there's absolutely no point in wasting any time, so... Mail time.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
Oh, it never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail.
When it comes,
I want to wail.
Oh yeah, it is the mail time, folks. It's the time of the week where we pick up the mailbag, rummage inside, and get bitten by a bear trap that someone sent in there as a joke. That was mean! Do you understand? That could have really hurt somebody. You guys are terrible. The first mail comes in this week from someone who has one of the best names I've ever seen. It's Silas Lou... Hang on, I've got to start this. Foreign names are not my speciality, I must say. I have trouble saying my own name, let alone this one. Was it Silas Louis Heiberg? Yeah, it sounds like a Nazi scientist. Nazi science! Yes. Okay, I've broken Godwin's about 5 minutes into the show. That's terrible. Now, he says... It's quite a long one, so I'm going to try and cut it down a little bit. He says, Dear TB, you sexy thing. Oh, good lord, no. I do not want to work out. Not with you, anyway. I present to you this amazingly godlike subject of agony and eternal death that you would be insane to pass on. Okay. For you to rant about during our next Boo Plz of awesome. Boo Plz. Hosted by Casper the Friendly Ghost. We had him in earlier. Well, actually, it can wait a little bit, because first of all, I want you to thank you for being so incredibly compliments, whatever. On to the subject of Doom. The rumor about Death Knights that will be released in Content Patch 3.0.2. Good lord. Yesterday, an official forum poster posted this, seeking a blue response. Where I work, there are a bunch of World of Warcraft players now all saying a blue said that the Death Knights will be released before the expansion comes out to allow people who want to play Death Knights to level them to 70. But when the expansion comes out, the Death Knight will be locked until they get the expansion. I don't know if this is true or false. Maybe you can help me out. That is as basic of a question as you can ask. The answer should be simple, yet it wasn't. Big gasp here for maximum dramatic effect. Now, Nethera posted something. Yes. Posted a reply to this, indeed. And it is rather long, needless to say. At least, in fact, it is so long that the person who sent it to me didn't actually link me to it. Thanks! I mean, this thread is 26 pages long. I clicked the link. It's not there! Ugh, good lord. Oh well, never mind. But yeah, so there's rumours on the internet. And he says... The response was a link to the original announcement of Content Patch 3.0.2 and some of the content being released in it. What you didn't see was a no, or that rumour is stupid, or even a maybe. So, what can we make of this? Well, apparently DeathKnight.info is having a lengthy discussion on their forums about this, but what do you think? Is it likely or right out? If you ask me, it would make sense. Maybe allow people who pre-ordered Wrath of the Lich King to roll a Death Knight before the expansion hits live realms and level it to 70 in advance, so that they can ready themselves for Northrend come the expansion. Looking through the files found in Content Patch 3.0.2, there is no such thing as a playable Death Knight to be found, but it only takes a small 40MB patch containing the Death Knight for Blizzard to put it through. Oh, and last night Ghostcrawler announced the changes to Death Knights that we will find in the next beta build. And being a bit Death Knight fanatic and theorycrafter myself, I'll go out and say, with that build, Death Knights will be more balanced and complete than ever. High five, and lots of nah, that's gay. And that's from The Jazz. 70 Priest, Horde, Talvanar EU. Right, okay. Yeah, there are rumours on the internet, and I'll tell you what other rumours I've got, is that this dog is eating a screwdriver. So I am going to go and stop the dog from eating the screwdriver. I'm going to continue to talk as I walk across the room. I'll spot the dog over here. I roll a d20 and take this back. That's actually not a screwdriver at all. That's a spoon! Why did it have a spoon? Of all things, why a spoon? At least, you know, I could have dealt with a screwdriver, but a spoon? Come on! I was fed that dog 15 minutes ago, seriously. How do you hunters cope? Really? How? Anyway, let's get back on this. The chances of Death Knight coming before Wrath... probably about a month or two ago I'd have said no way, but seeing what the kind of concessions that Blizzard are making to kind of please their player base right now, I think it's entirely feasible that that might end up happening. I mean... The reason that I would say that they would do that, aside from keeping people playing and getting people to pre-order the title, which, to be honest, they don't need to encourage people to do that. People are going to do it anyway. You don't really have a choice but to buy Wrath if you actually want to progress past level 70, and let's face it, all level 70 content is pretty much done now, so it's not like anyone's going to hang around. It reminds me of the argument that somebody made back before TBC was launched, that, yeah, there'll be a group of people that won't buy the expansion because they prefer to keep doing level 60 content. Yeah, about 7 of them. You know, really. We saw how well that worked out. So, yeah. I don't know, really. I really honestly do not know. It wouldn't surprise me after the PvP to PvE, the PvE to PvP, never get that right. PvE to PvP transfers and the whole recruit a friend thing, maybe. I mean, obviously with Warhammer coming out as well, they might. I don't know, it just seems kind of odd, really. And though I can see why it would work. I mean, let's face it. All the Death Knights all rolling on exactly the same day and doing all of this stuff and starting at level 55, which means, of course, they're behind the curve for the Raiders, so the hardcore raiding guilds wanting their Death Knights going to have to wait for them to level an extra 15 levels. It's possible. I mean, I'm not sure that they will do it, because it seems very, very odd to say, hey, here's the biggest feature of our expansion, and we're going to give it to you before that. But then, having said that, they're already giving us half of those features anyway in the 3.0 content patch. And you know what that makes me think? It does make me think that, to be honest, Wrath is not going to launch on the date that they think it is. Right? Because why else would they give us all that content? If they weren't a little bit worried that, hey, it's not going to come out in November and people can't wait, people are going to be tempted by other games, so let's give them some extra content to play with in the meantime. And funnily enough, half of that was like the selling points of the expansions. I mean, they were kind of frivolous, barbershops, Stormwind Harbour, the new talents, all that kind of thing. Most of that was frivolous. Of course, the new talents really isn't, but I suppose you could look at it another way, that they're trying to shake down the content in a way that the beta testers can't. Throw all the content out to 10 million people and suddenly they realise what 10,000 can't. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I mean, I think the talents, there's probably a very good argument to say that the talents are going out for that reason, because, hey, they want to check that everything is being balanced, particularly from a PvP perspective, because that ain't been happening much in the test rounds, particularly at level 80. There hasn't been a lot of PvP going on, mainly because the battlegrounds and arenas haven't worked. So very few people have been testing PvP, and it's all been about, let's go test Nax, let's go do the level 80s, let's do some heroics and stuff like that. So that could be the reason. There's a theory for you. We'll see. Now, I have one more mail, and this one is from David Fielding at level 70 Shaman on Burning Blade EU, and he says this: Hi TB, after playing WoW for a week, how do you think it compares to WoW, and do you think you'll be quitting WoW for it? Short and sweet. Well, this is kind of the last topic that I really want to do on WoW, because I do think talking about WoW is relevant to WoW players, because it's always interesting to see what the competition is doing, and this is the first, in my opinion, the first legitimate competition to WoW, because it's a game with potential mass appeal. It's got a really good background story behind it, it's got a very good universe to back it up, and a good license, and it's pretty much as user-friendly as WoW from the start. There's a couple of things which are a little bit more complicated, but I had no problem really getting into the game. So I'll give you my final thoughts on this and round it off and just say, I think, to be brutally honest, and I'll justify this in a minute, that I'm going to be playing both. I think that's pretty much a certainty now. After playing the game for a week, I've come to the conclusion that, yes, it's a very well fleshed out game, it's very well put together, it's generally bug-free, way more so than WoW was on launch, but then again, it's had a lot of time, it's 4 years on from WoW launch, so it can't really be that major, to actually release a game that isn't as buggy as WoW was on launch. The end game is already clear, which is something that WoW really never had. It's clear that once you get to level 40, the tier 4 content, as they call it, what you're going to be doing is city raiding and keep sieging, and you're going to also be doing the instances in your opponent's cities when you raise them and do all this other stuff. So it's a PvP endgame rather than a PvE endgame. It's like you take Lake Wintergrasp and expand that to an entire game spread across multiple zones with a bunch of quests and all this other functionality, put in battlegrounds, and then say, well, if you beat this, we will give you access to extra instances. Then you've pretty much got WoW there in a little nutshell. What I've found with WoW is that the leveling is made a lot... It's not as fast by any stretch as WoW. It is a lot slower, and it can be a little bit tedious if you just play it for a PvE game, and I think that's its weakness. It's not a great PvE game. The quests, you kind of do the same stuff. It does have public questing, which is very, very good, but everything gets spiced up by the PvP, and you can start PvPing from level 1 in so-called scenario battlegrounds, which you can access very readily from a queue screen. Once you've gone in there the first time and done the quest, you get a little queue button up the top of your minimap, and you can queue for a battleground wherever you are. So what you do is you queue for your battleground, you go and do some questing. It's not like you do in WoW, where if you try and go do anything and you have to leave a city in order to do that, you then get nailed straight back down to the city as soon as the battleground finishes. That's not what happens. You can run around and do whatever and go back into the battleground, and it's all fine and dandy and awesome, and you won't have a problem with it. So it's a legitimate style of play. You do a couple of quests, you do a BG. You do a couple of quests, you do a BG. And yes, you do gain XP from battlegrounds. It synergizes quite well, and I'm pretty impressed with the way that it works. The PvP is good. It needs balancing. It's certainly having some balancing issues, as anyone that's come up against a bright wizard will clearly attest. And I'm playing a Squig Herder, and my Squig Herder can't do jack in PvP at rank 10. It really can't. It is absolutely atrocious. I'm thinking of going down the path of stabbing, which allows me to don a giant squig, be eaten by this giant battle squig, and run around. It's kind of like mixing a druid with a hunter. You can shapeshift into a melee form, and then use your squig as a ranged pet instead of the other way around. It's kind of interesting, although at rank 10 it tends to get me killed horribly. It's still funny, though. A giant 8-foot-tall bouncing orange squig going, nah, nom nom nom. That's great. That's kind of funny and amusing. So I think the end game is going to require less organization and less scheduling, and that's the kind of nice thing about it. I imagine there will be some scheduled raiding of cities going on, but I think that a lot of it is going to be spontaneous. It's going to be like, hey guys, shout it out on MSN, shout it out on your IMs, your Ventrilo servers, your guild forums, saying we're going to go raid the castle now, or we're going to go raid this keep, we're going to go raid this city, and you just jump on and do it. Whereas in WoW, it's more of a case of you have to be somewhere at a specific time. So I think they will mesh rather well together. I intend to play both, at least until as long as I'm actually enjoying both. I think that WoW is going to satisfy my raid needs quite nicely. That's what WoW's always been great at, and I really don't see why so many people say otherwise. Raiding is the best part of WoW. It's the most content-rich feature. There's way more design and effort goes into that than anything else in the game. PvP is a mere side game more than anything. It's it's a novelty. Some people take it seriously, but I'll be brutally honest, guys. If you like PvP, that's great. But do you really think it's a fully fleshed out system? Because to be brutally honest, you want to look at War to see what's a fully fleshed out system. Indeed, look at any other MMO that's PvP oriented. EVE Online, anything like that. Anarchy Online. Look at Star Wars Galaxies and look at PvP. You'll see that it's a bigger game. It's a more dynamic game that actually affects the world. It's not a glorified series of gladiatorial contests, and death matches and capture the flag, which is exactly what WoW is. Not a bad thing. I'm not going to state that it is unequivocally a bad thing. It's just War does it better because War had it built into the game from the get-go. Now, I don't know if they had the idea of raiding built into the game from WoW's get-go, but they certainly jumped on the idea quite nicely. You can see the evolution, rapid evolution from Onyxia through Molten Core, through then Blackwing Lair, AQ40, then Zul'Gurub and Naxxramas and all that kind of thing. And you'll see that, yeah, they did a really good job, and they're evolving that constantly, and the raiding is becoming really interesting. So that's certainly what I'll be playing WoW for. So yeah, anyone that's thinking about quitting WoW for War, I would say, are you really into PvP? Because if you are, then maybe you might. Maybe you might go to War, and that's what's going to happen, really. It's a better PvP game, unequivocally. But if you like raiding, then this ain't going to be the game for you. Let's face it. If you're like me and you like both, but you weren't a fan of the PvP in WoW, then yeah, play both, have fun, why not? Now, after the break, I'm going to be announcing a special contest that we actually have coming up for you. Yes, indeed, another contest. We give away so much stuff on the station these days. Now, but first, this is a new Captain Dan track. Captain Dan, big friend of the station, awesome guy. It's called Seas to the Streets, pre-release, and it's from his forthcoming brand new album. My name is TotalBiscuit, this is Blue Plz, only here on WoW Radio. Enjoy.
With Buccaneer technique, from the seas to the street, we got the maritime beat. From the seas to the street, get about your seat. From the seas to the street, the most wanted fleet. From the seas to the street, with Buccaneer technique. From the seas to the streets, to the mic, to your speaker. Every other Red Sea on the oceans is weaker. Royal Navy can't find me, got witches right beside me. Your sloop destroyed after we applied broadside to thee. We never idle tendencies, leaning homicidal. Brutality unbridled, make enemies suicidal. We turn them derelict before verse 3. It's a love affair between naval warfare and me.
So when we show up on your shows, you know we wheeling and dealing. The whites are screaming and creaming after they stealing your semen. I just tell it like it is, I'm not being demeaning. So check it, we get hectic and wreck it. You know it's unexpected that the scurvy crew stays connected. From the streets to the seas, when I bleed off the keys, we heat up the truth. trees, defeat enemies, complete expertise, compete with us, please.
From the seas to the street, got the maritime beats. From the seas to the street, get about your seats. From the seas to the street, the most wanted fleet. From the seas to the street, with buccaneer technique. From the seas to the street, got the maritime beats. From the seas to the street, get about your seats. From the seas to the street, the most wanted fleet. From the seas to the street, with buccaneer technique.
Let's face it, everywhere you go, you see adverts for Ventrilo server providers. With so many to choose from, how do you make the decision about which is right for you and your guild? To help you with the decision, we brought in WoW Radio's very own bleeding-edge hardcore raiders to show you which provider the world's top players trust.
Loot the stupid car hound!
No. Tank it over there. You're setting the raid on fire.
Someone pulled ads, guys!
Oh, for God's sakes! Heal the tank! Heal the tank!
Hey guys, it's okay to DI the tank, right?
Why are you smiting and not healing?
Is that a halibut? Are you DPSing with a halibut?
Leave George alone! You'll hurt his feelings!
You named that halibut?
Guys, I think we're wiping.
What gave you that idea?
Well, we're all standing in the graveyard arguing. UGT Ventrilo servers, the only choice for the elite of the elite. Hi, I'm TotalBiscuit, the best and sexiest mage on the planet. When you're like me, you don't have downtime between raids and promotional photo shoots. That's why I use UGT Ventrilo servers. I don't have to get my hands dirty trying to fix a broken server, because it was never broken to begin with. UGT servers provide crystal clear voice communication with excellent hands-on support to make sure your server is always up and running. Not only that, their prices are so low, I was able to use the extra money to buy this £32 salmon. What, you didn't think I was going to be outdone by Dustin, did you? Hey guys, want to run some BRD? Get your premium quality Ventrilo server from UGTservers.com. Be the best. Well, second best. Yes, indeed, folks. We don't have the time to mess about because I'm trying to cram in 15 minutes of extra content in an hour and a half show. Yes, I'm doing the impossible. I'm bending time. I need to drop in for that. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Bending time!
No, I'm not actually bending. I'm bending time. It's not bending time. It's bending... Never mind. Anyway, this is Blue Plz on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Now, I have a contest for you. I'd like to give you things. Yes, I would. And no, not that. Something else, something nicer. Now, you might be aware that the Blizzard Authenticator came out a little while ago, and it's since been nigh on impossible to get a hold of. Now, we have been given not one, but not two, but three of these authenticators to give away. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make the contest nice and simple. It's not going to be anything complicated, as I know, taxing the brain, not so good. So, yeah, 3 authenticators, and we're going to do a random prize draw. And anybody who wants to enter needs to do only one very simple thing. Yes, indeed. In a same shameless piece of self-promotion, I would like you to go to iTunes and write a review for one of our shows. Make it honest. I don't want you to go, oh, look, 5 stars, this will get me a prize. No, I want it to be honest. I want you to go and review any one of our shows. Anyone you like, go and review on iTunes. And we're going to be announcing the winners of the prize draw on next week's Blue Plz. Yes, indeed. Next week's Blue Plz, we'll be announcing the winners of the prize draw. So you've got a week to go and put a review down for one of your shows, your favourite or your least favourite, and be honest. We don't want you coming along and saying, hey, this show is awesome, when it's not. We need to know your feedback, otherwise how are we going to improve? We don't get easily offended, so by all means, constructive criticism if you want to do it, praise if you want to do it, preferably a mixture of the two in the most honest way imaginable. So yes, 3 Blizzard Authenticators to give away, and it will be a random prize draw to anyone who this week drops an iTunes review for one of our shows. Okay, if you want to do an iTunes review and you don't have iTunes, well, download iTunes and look for WoW Radio. It's really not that hard. Now, content. We're done with that, so let's get on to some content. First topic this week is this. Vehicles in Wrath of the Lich King. Trucks in World of Warcraft. Yes, indeed. Now, I discovered something rather interesting on the beta server yesterday, which I didn't actually know about. Now, when I first started playing the beta on the level 70 server, I encountered a quest, and that quest was a daily quest, and it involved a flying machine. So I did this quest, and he got in this flying machine, and he got what appeared to be some kind of pet controls underneath it. So I was flying around in this flying machine, thinking, hey, this is going to be like a flying mount with, with weapons or whatever. And it turned out that no, actually, it wasn't a flying mount. It didn't handle like a flying mount. It handled some way, way, way differently. So I was thinking, this is kind of interesting. So I did my research, and I discovered that this was a vehicle. And it didn't actually count as a mount. It was different. It was actually a vehicle, and the vehicle could be given handling characteristics, and the vehicle could be given a wide variety of different abilities. So I'm like, that's kind of nifty. And I didn't really think about it too much after that, because I went to play on the level 80 server. Now, yesterday, they brought in the motorbike mounts. Now, they are called Da Chopper, or Da Hog, I can't actually remember which. But yeah, you actually get an achievement if you get one of this called Get to Da Chopper. It's like, great! Yeah. Could you have any more pop culture references? Seriously? Why don't you just release Arnold Schwarzenegger the MMO? Seriously. Should put some Firefly references in there, just to make it good. Now, obviously there was a bunch of people trying to get these things. You could buy them for like 5 gold from a vendor. I assume this is just a testing thing, that you can't actually get a bike for 5 gold from a vendor. But these things looked amazing, so I decided, hey, maybe someone's bought some extras and I'll ask around. So someone was advertising the trade channel saying, beat the queue, go and get one of these from me. And I said, okay, fair enough. So I go to the bank in Dalaran, not Darnassus. No one goes to Darnassus. I went to the bank in Dalaran, and I spoke to this guy and got my hog mount, my motorbike. So I got on my motorbike, it's my gnome, and I was driving around like, yeah, this is awesome. And bouncing around the place and everything. And apparently, and this is really, really cool, you can actually get a passenger in there as well. If you're in a group and someone clicks on your bike, it pops out a little sidecar and they can ride around in it. I'm like, great, that's awesome. Now, the thing is, it took me a little while to realise that this was not actually a mount. True, it's not actually a mount. It acts like a mount, but it isn't a mount. It's actually a vehicle. It's a personal use vehicle that acts like a mount. Now, you might ask me, TotalBiscuit, what is the difference? Well, for one thing, you saw that pet bar. That pet bar actually appears on the screen. It only had one command, and that was dismount. But yes, it had a pet bar. The most important thing, and this has wide-ranging implications, and I don't know if you guys really understand just how much possible change this could actually bring to WoW. These things are individual entities. Yeah, they're individual entities that you ride on. They can be selected, and they have their own HP. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. It's like a pet that you ride on. So you've got a vehicle. If you click on the vehicle, just say you were riding around on a Kodo, and you clicked on the Kodo, well, obviously in the normal World of Warcraft, it's going to select the Tauren. In this, not so much. That's not actually how it works. You click on the vehicle, it selects the vehicle, and the vehicle has its own health bar. Indeed, the motorcycle has 5.8k HP. I'm like, oh, interesting. And indeed, that's how you can get people mounted. They didn't change the mounting system, they just introduced an entirely new kind of mount. A mount that wasn't a mount that was a vehicle. So any of the passenger mounts, the multi-passenger mounts, actually seem to act like vehicles. They don't act like mounts at all. And indeed, they've actually brought in a couple of other mounts, particularly one that impressed me in its innovation, and that is the Caravan Mammoth. And what it does is, it's this giant mammoth, and it can hold up to 4 people. Counts as a vehicle, you can hold up to 4 people, and it's got a little vendor on the back. It actually has a vendor on the back of it. And on the back, it's actually got a reagent vendor. You can buy reagents from it. And this thing's going to cost 14,000 gold. I mean, crazy, 14,000 gold. But I've seen a couple of people on the beta server with them because they made 3 pre-mades and pulled all the money. Smart move, guys. And we got to play around with it, and it was cool. But again, this, in my opinion, opens up a huge range of possibilities. It really does. Think about it. Let's go back to the example that I made earlier of the flying machine in the quest. Now, that flying machine had 2 weapons. It had machine guns, and it had rocket launchers. Now, think about it this way. What if that was not the only place where you could use these? And indeed, what if Wintergrass wasn't the only place you could use these? What if you could get your own personal fighting vehicle? Now, what would that do? You might think, well, that's a little bit of a gimmick, but think about it. What about if you were able to get your own personal fighting vehicle, and the actual combat that you did in said vehicle was an entirely different feel to WoW? It's like mounted combat. We've always kind of thought about mounted combat as a possibility for WoW, because mounts have always been a big feature of WoW ever since 40, and they're bringing all these different mounts to appease people. But let's face it, mounts are nothing more than a slightly different skin. It's a modified skin. Effectively, they're putting a horse under you, and you're moving at a slightly enhanced speed. It's not an entity as such. It's a spell. And indeed, mounts are spells. So you've got to look at it and think, well, okay, what if mounts weren't spells at all? What if mounts were actually physical entities within the world that could themselves be hurt? So think about it this way. What about if you could get personal flying machines, and you could actually have an air battle? And you could have this air battle pretty much wherever, and there was actually PvP air combat. And indeed, there were flying mobs so high that you couldn't attack them with normal weapons, and you had to get into your flying machine, or whatever, and you could use that. And indeed, you could have various different variants, You could look at it and say, well, okay, what kind of flying creatures are there in WoW? Well, there's a variety of different flying machines, You've got Goblin Zeppelins, Mini Goblin Zeppelins, the death machine things that you saw in Area 52. You've got, let's see what else. You've got, of course, gyrocopters. You've got the little planes. There's all sorts of different things that they could possibly come up with. And it seems to me that this would be a really good way to go. Now, the thing is, you wouldn't have to just do this in the air either, although it would be kind of funny. The idea of doing it in the air would be this. If you actually fought in the air with aerial combat, you actually did damage to the mount. And if you destroyed the mount would explode and, of course, drop the person from it. And there is actually a parachute system in place. It's not a slow fall as such. It's kind of like a different spell entirely. It's a parachute system built into the flying machine in the level 70 quest that you do over in Howling Field. So, you could put the parachute in there as well. Or you could have parachute be an optional extra. Something that you have to buy. And if you don't buy a parachute, you get shot down in midair, you fall to your death. It's the kind of thing that you've seen it happen before with people that jump off their flying mounts in the middle of nowhere, and they drop down and try and cast spells on people as they fly past. It's like that. It's like taking that to a whole new level, but you don't just have to do that. What about if we then took that concept and applied it to ground warfare? What about actual steam tanks? Steam tanks, all that kind of thing. Well, this is what we're actually going to be seeing in Lake Wintergrasp, but what if we saw it outside of Lake Wintergrasp? What if? What if we had our mounts that actually, could be upgraded with weapons? And you might think, hey, is that a good idea? Is it not? Well, you know what? I think at this point, anything that actually innovates mounted combat that way is a very cool idea, and it's, as far as I know, not been done, at least not particularly well, in any other MMO. So that would be a nice, brand new feature to bring into the game. Mounted combat, why not? Maybe change the mounts over, or at least give additional mounts that were like actual battle mounts, for instance. And instead of riding a Kodo, you're riding a battle Kodo, and it has various features. Those drums on the side of the Kodo, well, why not make them actually work for an AoE buff? Why not allow the battle Kodo to bite other people? Why not use it as some kind of mounted combat kind of thing? And why stop there? What about naval warfare? What about naval transport? What about the ability to sail the seas on your own little boat? Multi-crew boat. Think about it. How awesome would this be? Guild boats. Think about that. Or just party or raid boats of various sizes, and you could go between the continents on them. So you'd have to obviously add an actual sea section in the middle, which is, that's fine. Flat sea, maybe with some hazards and a few random islands. Have them all mount up on the boat. You've got your captain who steers it, and then everyone else is on the cannons. And there you go, you got a boat. There's games that have done this before. They're not MMOs, but stuff like Battlefield 2. And particularly Battlefield 1942, where you could all control different areas of a naval vessel. Why not? Tell me why not. Obviously, they now have the system for it, because it's in there as a kind of vehicle combat, and vehicles that have weapons, and vehicles that are now counted as separate entities that can be damaged. Why not? Why not bring in naval warfare? Why not just go nuts? Use this content to the absolute best of your ability. Don't just confine it to Wintergrasp. Don't just put it in one PvP zone. That's a gimmick. It's the same as putting it in that quest. In Howling Field, if you try and fly that flying machine out of the radius of the quest, you aren't able to keep flying it. It stops. It's like you are out of range of the quest. It stops. You have to go back. Well, great. What about if it didn't? What about if those vehicles actually became part of the game? What about, you could upgrade your mount to a battle mount, and you could have all of this amount of combat. Entirely new dynamic there to World PvP. And indeed, entirely new dynamic to questing. Why quest when you can quest in a tank? Why not? All of this possible content here, you could add huge swathes of content there in the middle of the Maelstrom, or in the middle of the sea, and all of this ocean combat that you can access via boat. Screw swimming, boat, and you could have herds of aquatic form druids kind of flying along beside your boat. That would be great. A little dolphin form, why not? Attach limpet mines to the enemy things. Now, the kind of point that I'm trying to make here is that this is a feature that has so far not received much attention. People have been concentrating on, Death Knights, Lake Wintergrass, level 80, barbershops for some ridiculous reason. And yet they've just put vehicles into the game, so there's something that could be the biggest change ever, and barely anyone's paying any attention. Lord, do people really want more of the same? I think they do. And I think that's why WoW continues to be successful. People like things that are safe. But you know what? I like Blizzard to take that concept and expand it to the point where WoW genuinely has something really cool that is brand new and nobody's really seen before. And would have worked in Star Wars Galaxies had it not been a really terrible game. It's like the Jump to Lightspeed expansion in Star Wars Galaxies. The idea was you could engage in combat with your ship and all that kind of thing. Well, why not if you could engage in combat with a boat, or a ship, or a tank, or a flying machine, and this could be a part of the game. I'm up for it. I'd like to see it. Wouldn't you? If you've got any opinions on this, feel free to email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. I got some Nubcake news for you. I'm going to be right back after this. And, of course, another track from the one and only Captain D. My name is TotalBiscuit. This is Blue Plz. Wanting my naval combat in WoW. This is Nubcake News. Enjoy. Live from the Blue Plz Tower in Howling Fjord, it's Nubcake News with award-winning anchor TotalBiscuit. Bringing you all the news that matters, whether you realize it or not. Welcome to Nubcake News. I am TotalBiscuit, and this is a thinly veiled reference to my huge salami. Should go nice with a little garlic butter and some thick, crusty bread. In the news this week, Nubcake News is pleased to announce that it has secured exclusive information on the upcoming announcement at BlizzCon 2008. For the past few months, Blizzard has been strangely silent as to what its big announcement could possibly be. Having announced Diablo 3 at WWI and the Lost Vikings TCG and coloring book at Gen Con, it seems there are really no franchises left to milk. Our researchers concluded that only one possibility remains. Blizzard intend to create new IP. Joining us now is Commissar Folklore of the Angry Marines chapter, who has been monitoring the researchers' activities. Commissar? New IP? Heresy! Innovation? Heresy! Jaywalking? Heresy! Thanks, Commissar. It would appear that we won't be needing to pay their salaries after all. Since we now know that it couldn't possibly be a new piece of intellectual property, we must return to the possibility that Blizzard intends to reuse an old franchise. Unable to fathom what it could be, we have tapped the vast resources of Nubcake News to send a highly trained undercover operative to Blizzard HQ. We go to him now for a special live report inside Blizzard HQ. Solid Biscuit, can you hear me? Sorry, Solid, we appear to be having issues hearing you. Perhaps you might want to get out from under that cover. Seriously, if you've left the stealth microphone outside of your cardboard box, you won't be getting your Christmas bonus. Yes. Can you hear me now, TB? Finally, yes. Can you give us a status update? Well, TB, I'm inside Blizzard HQ, where I'm attempting to infiltrate their top-secret testing lab, where I'm reliably informed they are keeping their secret BlizzCon announcement. There are several levels of security between myself and the lab. The first is a series of guards who I intend to sneak past by disguising myself as Fangtooth. And how exactly do you intend to do that? Well, I have this costume which consists of a pile of live kittens. I feel this will accurately reflect the appearance and mannerisms of the once legendary CM. I'm coming up to the first checkpoint now. Mr. Fangtooth, pleasure to have you with us again. Going to see Mr. Morhaime? Meow, 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 meow. Very good, sir. Just go on through. Second elevator on the right. Success! I have passed the first checkpoint. Now all I need to do is discard these kittens and move to the elevator to reach level 2. Please tell me this isn't going to be a new rogue mechanic. What? No. Damn it. The glue is probably a bit much. How else was I supposed to get them to stay put? Your techniques are truly astounding. Thank you, TB. He has picked this one up in Korea while battling inflatable aardvark, a deadly new weapon of war that was threatening the sovereignty of our great nation. They really called it that? Yeah, funny thing. I thought it was a bit tame, too. I'm glad we share the same perspective on life. Perhaps you, too, can one day be a stealth action hero. Quite. It sounds like you've reached the second floor. What do you see? Well, yes, it appears to be some kind of coded lock. 6 digits. There's instructions here. It says, use your authenticator. Well, goddamn, nobody has those. Oh, look, a direct line to customer service. Let's see. Yes, Yes, my account name is SexyDude69. Why, yes, I do live there. Favorite color? Puce? No, not puce. How about yellow? Green? Blue? Ah, yes, blue. You know how it is. So easy to forget these things. Oh, you'll open the door now? Great, thanks a lot. Why, yes, I am enjoying playing World of Warcraft. Thank you. That's all you did? No super secret hacking tools? No micro-explosives? Not even a basic lockpick? Oh, TB, you have a lot to learn about infiltration. Leave it to the pros, eh? Yes, I think I'll stick to broadcasting. Okay, I'm coming up on level 3, the final assistant before the lab. Good lord, it appears to be a test of basic social skills. Those diabolic fiends! There's no way I'll be able to get through here. This calls for desperate action. Commissar, now! Heresy! Was that absolutely necessary? Well, how else would you suggest I get past such an impenetrable defense system, huh? Mr. Expert, think you know better? Well, why don't you get in your cardboard box and come down here? We'll settle this mano a mano. No, that's fine. I have complete confidence in your abilities. So you should, ingrate. Finally, the lab is in sight. Funny, it doesn't have the kind of labels you'd expect. And what kind of labels would you actually expect? Well, something like top secret lab, ultra-hidden research bunker, convenient volcano island. All it says is Wrath of the Lich King vehicle testing. Well, that's no secret. We know about that already. Why don't you take a peek inside? Okay, I'm going in. Good lord. It can't be. I wish you could see this. It appears Blizzard have done the unthinkable. What? Tell us, damn it! It's rock and roll racing? They put rock and roll racing into World of Warcraft? There's a bunch of test subjects here, wired up to computer systems. They're all driving around Azeroth in tiny cars. All the phone music's been changed to MIDI covers of 80s metal tracks. They're running down nubs in the Barrens and laughing. Oh god, it's horrible. I should have known the vehicle system was only a front. This was it. This was their master plan all along. Hoodwink us for 4 years and then, when we least expected, bam! Rock and roll racing. This isn't World of Warcraft at all. This has all been a conspiracy. Hook us in, and when we're at our most... Infiltrator spotted. Security, terminate the intruder. Oh lord, I've been spotted. I've got to get out of here. Too late, sucker. Take the corpse to Patchwork. He's fraying again. What about this cardboard box he was dragging behind him? Looks like it's got a microphone attached to it. No, can't be right. No, nobody would be that stupid. Must be a decoy. No, we'll deal with it later. Get that corpse out of here. Yes, up. Now, back to testing. Kungan, please give us your feedback on these latest changes. Kungan needs no helmet. Kungan drives all. Vroom. Good lord, the humanity. I'm leaving the studio right now to hide. This is terrible. This is horrible. This is the worst thing to ever happen. This has been Nubcake News. Good night. You're listening to the archived recording of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright reasons. If you'd like to hear the live music, then tune in live at 5:30 EST. That's 10:30 British Standard Time on Fridays at WCRadio.com.
All the fun of television without those annoying pictures. From Ratchet to Winter Spring, this is WoW Radio.
Yes, indeed, folks. The sounds of George Thorogood and the Destroyers is bad to the bone. Yeah. I don't know, I'd kind of go for rock and roll racing online, you know. Just a bit of a hint for Blizzard there. It's Blue Plz on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Yeah, I'm going to try and fit in some more content. Yes, indeed. Extra content in the show. It's a bumper show. It's popping at the seams like it's just stuffed down 3 Big Macs and a 48-ounce chocolate shake. Now, quick announcement. More announcements. How more announcements can I give you? I mean, I could probably give you an announcement every single segment. You know, really. I've got all this cool stuff to tell you about. This one is actually kind of a personal thing, but thought I might let you guys know. I did a little bit of voice acting for a game a little while ago for Armor Games, which is a big company that makes Flash games. Oh, hey, not big deal, you know, I know. But they made a game by the name of Warfare 1917, and they were looking for voice actors. So I went in and I did some voice acting for them, and they've used it in the game, and the game is now out. So these guys are very, very good at making Flash games. They've put out some really awesome stuff. Chances are you've probably played at least one Armor Games product before. So go and check it out. I'm going to give it to the IRC. Right? If you're not already in the IRC channel, you better be, because I'm about to give you the link. So get in the IRC channel. It's irc.mmoirc.com, # WOW Radio. I'll also post it on the forums after the show. I will try and read this out for you, but it's a little bit long. It's Armor Games, and it's not spelled the proper way. It's ARMOR Games. And no, Americans, you can tell me that's the proper way. No, it isn't. You miss out random letters. You're lazy. That's the problem with you. So yeah, Armor Games, ARMORgames.com/play/2267/warfare-1917. So yeah. Again, armorgames.com/play/2267/warfare-1917. And if you still missed that, well, you can check it out on the channel, #WOW Radio at irc.mmoirc.com. So yeah, plug out of the way, time for some more content. Now, talking about homogenization. Now, the problem WoW's having lately, at least from what I've seen, and I called this, you know, I'm gonna say, I don't usually say I told you so, but I called this before TBC. When they announced that Paladins would be coming to Horde side, and, of course, Shamans coming to Alliance. Now, I believe we were actually doing Epic back at the time, and we called it. We said, look, if this happens, this is a slippery slope towards homogenization for the sole purpose of easy balance. Now, you want to talk about easy balance, you can look at Warcraft 2. That was easy balance, because everything was identical. Aside from the spells and, you know, tiny little spell units. Of course, there were like 3 units on each side that actually had spells and abilities of some kind. And even then, people complained, oh, it wasn't balanced, oh, it wasn't balanced. Now, of course, Blizzard proved that, yes, it could balance a game with 3 distinctly unique sides and a bunch of abilities by making StarCraft. Admittedly, it took them about a decade to actually get it properly balanced. But yeah, widely considered to be the most balanced RTS ever made, indeed the most balanced game ever made. And it's a difference. You've got 2 kinds of balance. You've got symmetrical balance, you've got asymmetrical balance. And asymmetrical balance is where you take the idea that, no, the factions are not the same, but their abilities complement each other, and when you take it as a whole, this faction is actually balanced to this faction. And if you don't counter a particular strategy, then it's you who suck, and not the fact that your units suck. You know, asymmetric balance is what every game seems to strive for these days, and indeed, that is what I believe WoW should be doing. And what they've been trying to do, you know, they've got 9 different classes, they're all trying to balance it up with 3 different talent trees for each, so you're looking at 27 total, you know, possibilities there, assuming, of course, that there weren't more viable specs, which there are. So, there is plenty to do. Not only that, but you've got to balance the fact that PvE and PvP are 2 different entities and require vastly different skills and talents and all that, and equipment and that kind of thing. So you've been looking at a case where it's been difficult, and a lot of people have complained, and a lot of people have whined. Generally, it's because of PvP, and that kind of bothers me. You know, I've never been a fan of PvP in WoW. I like the idea, but it turned out not to be as great as I thought. And ever since then, there seems to have been changing my class for people that play PvP, and I don't know why that is. You know. It's like, hey, let's rebalance Project Gotham Racing 3 so that the demo of Geometry Wars will work. It's the same thing. You change a mini-game and it affects the larger game, and it makes the larger game worse. So yeah, never really been a big fan of that. However, they've continued along this line, and the problem I'm having right now with the beta is that you see a lot of these kind of cool, unique abilities being given to more than one class. Now, first things first, something that was announced quite recently, priest racials are disappearing. They're all going. They're going to the bye-bye bin. And in the bye-bye bin, you'll find all of those forgotten hopes and dreams that those priests had, and all the ideas for the fact that all of these different races were supposed to have unique racials, and all of these different classes were supposed to have unique racials, and yet priests were the only one that got them. And their reason to justify was, well, that it fits the lore, you know. It fits the lore that a night elf priest can get star shots, woo! You might as well roll a druid and do moonfire, you know, it's equally pathetic. Like, what else have you got? Desperate prayer, you know, humans, desperate prayer. Great. What else have you got? Feedback. Whatever. What else have you got? Devouring plague, because, of course, undead, despite the fact that they are healing and using the light, and their magic is holy, we're going to have devouring plague, because, of course, they're evil. They want to eat your flesh with bugs and things like that, you know. Some priest there. But yeah, all sorts of different silliness, you know. Fear ward for dwarves. I suppose they need fear ward with dwarven females around, wouldn't they? Where's my rim shot? Where is it? I've lost it. My rim shot. Yes! the delivery, about 5 seconds out of sync, but it's still there. Anyway, so yeah, the idea of asymmetric balances seems to be something that's kind of eluding them right now, because they're getting rid of all of the unique variety stuff, making it talents or base abilities, and saying, here, there you go. And it's like, what, we're supposed to thank you for that? I suppose some priests might be thanking you, saying, hey, look, we've got more skills. Everyone else is going to say, hey, look, we've got less variety. Thanks. You pleased, 1/9 of the population and pissed off 8/9 of it, I mean, most people might say that, hey, it doesn't matter so much, but to me, again, slippery slope. And I said it before TBC. The homogenization thing starts here, with the Belfs and the Sharmies. You got your Belfadins, you got your Space Shaman, you take those, and look, the game's got a little bit more generic. Because now both sides have exactly the same classes available to them. Now what? Both sides have exactly the same priest racials available to them. Now what? Well, there's been a couple of other things. Now, I'd like to concentrate particularly on Shadow Priests, because for me, Shadow Priests were the pinnacle of hybrid class utilization within a raid environment, yeah? Look back the way things used to be. Shadow Priests? No. Tanking Druids? No. Moonkin Druids? No. Shamans of any kind that didn't involve healing? No. All these kind of things, all these hybrid classes were only used for healing, yeah? And even warriors, only really used for tanking. That was their primary role. That was what they were best at. And in the TBC, they actually made a genuine effort to change that and to make it different. And to say, hey, we can make hybrid classes useful. Is that a Zeppelin? Is there a Zeppelin overhead? I mean, really? I don't know. Actually, that seems like a plane. Oh, well, never mind. Could have been a Zeppelin. Freaking bombing run quests. Alright, so you took your Shadow Priests and you said, right, okay, this is how we're going to make them useful in raids. We're going to make them mana batteries, because this is new. This is something that hasn't been done before. The only mana regeneration that's happened previously has been Resto Shamans, and of course, Resto Druids with Innovate, and your healing... Not your healing, your Mana Spring Totem. And to be fair, Innovate's great, but it's only a single target, and Mana Spring Totem regenerated basically bugger all. So you were looking at using Mana Tide, which of course is a cooldown-based ability, to bring back mana. And you know what? It was kind of difficult, especially in 40-man raids, to have a Shaman in every group. So you're looking at 8 Shamans there. You don't take 8 Shamans. Heck, now you don't even take 5 Shamans, unless of course you're doing Sunwell. But yeah, they were looking into making something that was different. So they did. Mana Battery, a constant, damage-dependent way of regenerating mana in your group. Great idea. And it worked. Shadow Priests became useful again. People accepted Shadow Priests, they changed things around a little bit, and it's like, hey, now we've got Shadow Priests and Holy Priests, and they're both viable. Shame Disc Priests aren't, but, whatever. We don't care about those, they're PvP class. So, that was great. And now, the problem is that they're changing it. They've got rid of the damage-based ability, and they've put in a different ability, and all it does is basically regenerates a set amount of mana to the entire raid, like every X number of seconds, and so the problem I've got with that is that not only have they then, changed the usefulness, right, so what you're telling me is that a damage hybrid class that wants to do as much damage as possible now no longer has the ability which made its damage actually matter, in a very significant way. It's like saying, well, your Shadow Priest ain't doing as much damage as the rest of these guys, so we're not going to take him along. It was okay, because as with a hybrid class, the point is, there's 2 ways of playing a hybrid. There's 2 ways of also balancing a hybrid. Either you make it so the encounters require that hybrids perform multiple roles at the same time, which is very rarely happened, or alternatively, you give the hybrids some kind of ability where their lack of damage or lack of healing in comparison to pure classes is shored up by alternative abilities that add a unique element of raid viability. And that's how they did it. That's the good way to do it. That's in my opinion, the good way to do it. So not only are they doing that to Shadow Priests, but they're also giving a similar ability to Survival Hunters and to Retribution Paladins. I was like, look, seriously, Blizzard, are you telling me you only had one idea? Really? Aside from auras, are you telling me you only had one idea for hybrids? And it's like, right, well, let's give this one to every other hybrid spec now. Survival Hunters? Really? Regenerating mana? What gives? Retribution Paladins? Come on. You can do better than that. We know you can do better than that. So, why? Why are you being so... I mean, I wouldn't say lazy as such, but mediocre, run-of-the-mill. You can do better than that. And it bothers me because, again, slippery slope argument. What is required is diversification. That is quite clear. It is very important that classes diversify, and that specs diversify, and that encounters and raids therefore diversify to accommodate that diversification. So yes, diversification required on all fronts. You look at the ideas, you look at, well, what other things could you put into the game? Well, that are, existing stuff. Mana regeneration is an existing concept. What about a concept that is not an existing concept? What about they introduce some new stuff? I'm not going to suggest what. I'm sure they can think of stuff themselves. But what it brings in, you brought in new things before. Resilience, spell haste, 2 prime examples, brand new things. Heck, even plus hit, if you remember back in the day, way ago, they brought in plus hit. So yeah, they do bring in new stats, they do bring in new raid functionality, they do bring in new mechanics, so let's see some of that, so we can diversify the hybrid classes so they're able to get raid viability without being a carbon copy of another thing. This is what scares me. You can argue that you'll say, wait, well, this benefits smaller guilds, because that means you don't have to, go looking for a Shadow Priest and always have a Shadow Priest. You can have a Survival Hunter or a Retribution Paladin instead. Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the problem. For active guilds, what that means is that the Shadow Priest, who usually had a raid spot and had a role in the raid, now has less utility. And has utility that can be equally replaced, indeed bettered, by one of the people. Are you seriously telling me that Rep Pallies, Shadow Priests, and Survival Hunters are all going to have equal utility and equal damage output? Because if you do, I am going to tell you absolutely not. They're not. They are not going to have the same amount of utility. They're not going to do the same amount of damage. One is going to be favoured over the others. You know what that means? Min-maxing time, folks, because we're down to 25-man raids. We've got to min-max, and look, we have a new class to integrate. We've got an entirely new class with 3 different specs, all of which are apparently in some form raid viable. So we've got to put Death Knights in there, and we're looking, you look at the hybrid class and you think, good lord, I'm glad I'm not a hybrid class, because those guys are getting shafted. Now, what's going to happen next? What is going to happen next? Are you just going to give all of these abilities to all of the different hybrid classes? How much more homogenization can the game take before it becomes mind-numbingly generic? You can do better. Blizzard, I know you can do better. Seriously. Let's see some diversification in raids. Because, to be honest, I've spoken to a number of Shadow Priests and they're very upset about this change, and I'm not surprised. Throw them a bone. Really, give them, if that's going to be the role of Survival Hunters and Rep Paladins, I would suggest that you find a new role for Shadow Priest. Or at least diversify the ways in which they regenerate mana. Make them regenerate in vastly different ways. I do mean vastly different. Because variety-wise, looks to me like the game's kind of going down the pan. And that would be terrible. I don't want to see that. So let's have a little bit more variety, please, in hybrid abilities, and let's diversify. Now, I'll be right back after this. It's another brand new track from Captain Dan. It's actually a cover of a Snoop Dogg track by the name of Gin and Juice, and this one's called Rum and Juice, in celebration of Talk Like a Pirate Day. My name is TotalBiscuit. Arr! And this is Captain Dan and the Scurvy Crew, Rum and Juice. I'll be right back after this with yet more awesome content. Enjoy.
Yar. With so much trouble in the Florida Keys, it's kinda hard being me, the Captain Double D. But I, somehow, someway, keep lopping off scurvy nays hands like every single day. May I steal a little treasure from your fleet and strand them on the beach as we please? We'll plunder all your booty and set fire to your sails, cause we pirates are known to have parrots on our shoulders while we getting it on. We be drinking rum till 6 in the morning. So what you gonna do? I got a barrel of gunpowder and me whole crew does too. We'll knock out your lights and take your gold, but for what? To fill our cargo hold. So we go smoke an ounce to this. Tides up, tides down, while the ship is gonna rock to this. Rowing on the sea, smoking seaweed, sipping on rum and juice. Laid back, with my mind on my scurvy and my scurvy on my mind. Rowing on the sea, smoking seaweed, sipping on rum and juice. Laid back, with my mind on my scurvy and my scurvy on my mind. I got me a bottle of rum. Everybody wants a swig once the killing's done. Now this type of shit happens all the time. The captain gets his shares and then his crew is behind. Everything is fine when they listen to the Captain D. I be the pirate with the rhymes that can captivate the sea. They listen to the threats that I speak as I take me a drink into the city. I sneak, get to party with this bitch named Sally. She offered take me around the corner in the alley. 80 of these my parents hold that whole please, cause she caught the disease from the semen of the keys on her knees. Then we're back to the ship, sails catch the breeze, and we'll be rowing on the sea, smoking seaweed, sipping on rum and juice. Laid back, with my mind on my scurvy and my scurvy on my mind.
Yes, indeed, folks. Blue Plz here on Wire Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. We're just going to had an interesting little discussion there in the channel about Shadow Priests, and, it's cool because now they scale in DPS. Let me tell you something. They're not supposed to scale in DPS. They're supposed to have utility. You're a hybrid class. You're not a DPS class. You're a friggin' healing class who happens to have a DPS tree. That means you are a hybrid. That means that you shouldn't do as much damage as pure class. I said the best remark that I actually read there was, it's okay, mages also have utility. No, they don't! Not anymore, unless you count being a glorified bakery as utility. Mana pies! Oh, friggin' wonderful. Yeah, so screw that. This is Blue Plz here on Wire Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit, and I've got more topics to do, so I'd better get right on with it. Now, heirloom items. This has been mentioned on a number of different shows, but I would like to talk specifically about, it's not so much of a conspiracy theory as just a general theory about the reason these have been put in the game, and something of an overarching plan. A few weeks back, if you remember correctly, I mentioned the Recruit a Friend program, and I talked about how Blizzard were trying to make a new way to play for the old hands that had got jaded and had played the game through innumerable number of times before and just were bored and didn't want to play anymore. I argued that it was a power leveling service, an endorsed power leveling service designed to keep people playing the game. And to be honest, from my experiences in it and from talking to people who are also in it, I have come to the conclusion that, of course, I was bang on right with that. And yes, that's exactly how it performs, and it's good and it's fun. Now, we heard about this particular piece of news about a week or so ago, and I wanted to cover it in last Blue Plz, but I didn't have the time, so I'm going to cover it now, and that's the idea of heirloom items. I'll have a quick overview for those who don't know what heirloom items are. Heirloom items are bound to account items rather than bind on pickup or bind on equip, which means that you can send them to anyone else who is on your account, any of your alts. And what they do is they scale with level, and you can buy them with tokens, which I assume are going to be got from heroic instances and that kind of thing. Buy them with tokens, and you can send them, and they're all legacy items, They're all cool legacy stuff that you remember, like the Headmaster's Charge and the Arcanite Reaper and Vishkag and all that kind of thing, Dalrend. So you've got all of these cool legacy items with different names, slightly updated models, and they scale with level, which means that you can send it to your level 1 alt, and your level 1 alt will suddenly have a Arcanite Reaper with like +1 strength on it, and it's like, that's cool. I thought, that's my initial opinion on it. It was cool. A few people did ask me, and I've had actually a few people say an illusion of choice. We'll talk about this. And I said, well, no, not really. I think it's a pretty good idea, but this is what you've got to look at. The reason why it's been put in the game quite specifically. Now, I'm going to make the argument that Blizzard is actually trying to develop a new kind of playstyle. They're actually supporting the idea of alcoholism. What is, of course, alcoholism? It's the idea of rolling loads and loads of alts and playing loads of different classes. Now, for those of us who did not like leveling, alcoholism is, of course, our anathema. We really don't like it. We have absolutely no intention of taking part in it by any stretch of the imagination. Why would we? I mean, there's no good reason for it. Why? What possible reason could we have for taking part in alcoholism? We only just leveled our guys to 70 and tried to quit like 50 times before then. So now, what do we get to do? Oh, yeah. We get to level another one. Is that your idea of content? No. So Blizzard's response to that was, well, okay, fine. It's the same content, but what about if we let you go through it 3 times faster? And what about if, to do that, you have to play it with a friend, which means that obviously it's more fun because it's a more social gaming experience, and you can tackle tougher quests that you wouldn't have been able to do solo. Okay, and how about we let you summon your friend? And how about, once you get to level 60, we give you both these gay-looking zebras? And not only that, but if you level, you will actually get bonus levels that you can apply to other characters on your account. So yes, you can make even more alts. And then, hey, look, it's TBC content that hopefully you haven't done to death, so you'll be a little bit more interested in leveling at the proper speed. Which I don't think is kind of going to work out, but we'll just see how it goes. Anyway, I was impressed by that as a brand new way of playing. Now, this heirloom items thing only convinces me further that this is what they want. They are implementing a system whereby old hands at the game can level up new characters and do so in a way that is sufficiently different from their original experience to be interesting. So, what do you got? If you combine Recruit a Friend with Heirloom, you are taking out one of the biggest problems with Recruit a Friend. And you're going to ask me, well, TotalBiscuit, what is the biggest problem with Recruit a Friend? Well, the biggest problem with doing Recruit a Friend, as anyone that's done Recruit a Friend will know, is if you are not doing it on a server with one of your mains, you're not supplying it with money to buy blues and stuff off the auction house, your equipment tends to get very out of date very fast. Primarily, of course, because you don't really get a lot of chance to go into instances. You know, you pass the instance level a heck of a lot faster, which means that you get less chances to get the gear that you want, and of course there's less people doing it, so it's even more difficult to actually get the group together, and you're more likely to just say, well, screw it, let's just go level, and we'll just level past this and try and get in the next one. And it keeps going on until about level 60, and you realise once you go to level 60, you're having a level 21 pair of green gloves, and it's kind of embarrassing for you. But the idea of adding in the heirloom items actually bypasses that by giving you a weapon which scales up with you and a pair of shoulders which scales up with you. And at the moment it's only weapons and shoulders. Whether or not they're going to add in different heirloom items, I don't know. I think variety and, you know, using them in moderation is probably the best idea. Now, it's cool that you have heirloom items. Don't give them an entire set. Really? Because that's just silly. You know, it's like it does the same. It has the same problem of cookie cutter equipment that you can run into. You know, at least you certainly used to run into at level 60. You know, there was a cookie cutter set of equipment that was great, and you don't want that while leveling as well. You know, you want to try and scavenge and grab your stuff, and you might want to be excited when you get a quest reward or an instance drop. You don't want to be covered in heirloom items and say, "Oh, well, I don't really care." That if you cover yourself in heirloom items, you have no reason to, you know, revel in quest rewards. You have no reason to go into instances except for quests, for obviously. And half of the fun of instances is getting new loot. You know, getting something that is vastly superior to what you have. So scaling items don't do that. And I'm glad to see that they only scale up every 10 or so levels, which is great because that means that they can't be used as twink items. Ha ha ha. No, seriously, I don't really mind the twink style, but it's fine if you want to do twinking, that's cool, that's not really a problem, but it was something of a concern to some people, and whether or not they're stupid is really entirely up to them. So, yeah, good idea. Now, I'm viewing this as basically speed WoW. Yeah? It's a brand new way to play the game, it's speed World of Warcraft, and it's making playing the game through, again, a different experience. And it's not the first time that games have actually done that. You can look back in history and you can even look at other MMOs that have actually done the same thing. For instance, Guild Wars, not technically an MMO, but we'll go with it anyway. If you get a level 20 on Guild Wars, you are able to create another level 20 with all of the abilities that you have unlocked so far. Now, of course, that's not quite as good because you don't get a lot of other stuff that you would get while questing or leveling up, but you can do it, which means that if you want to try out a different class, you can. And if you get really serious about that class, then yeah, okay, fine, you can start leveling one up. I mean, it doesn't take a long time. You can literally level up a Guild Wars character in a weekend. But it's a good way of encouraging players to try new things and reuse the content that is already in the game. And you might say, well, TotalBiscuit, reusing content is a horrible idea. Well, to some degree it is, and then to some degree it's not. It's gonna happen one way or the other, and to expect that it's not gonna happen is a very, very silly expectation indeed. We already reuse content. You know, you just need to look at instances to see that we already reuse content an awful lot. You go into the same instance week in, week out. You go into the same raid week in, week out. You go into the same battleground or arena week in, week out. You do the same public quests. Public quests? Wow, I'm stuck in the war frame of mind. You do the same daily quests in day out, day in, day out. And content is reused. And that's just the way of it. So, to me, I would say that this is a good idea. Now, a lot of people have been concerned that this is kind of eroding the whole experience that they used to have, and saying, well, why can't people, why can people do this now? I couldn't do this when I was leveling up. Well, here's my response to that. I'm in the same situation. I leveled up on day one, and I did it the hard way. I did it on a PvP server when doing it on a PvP server actually meant something. I leveled up, I got ganked, I spent hours and hours and hours being ganked, being killed, having my quest mobs killed, all sorts of different things, leveling up when all of the leveling zones were really active and difficult to deal with. Been there, done that. Honestly, I share your pain, but do you really want to put everyone else through that pain? Because to be honest, that's vindictive. That really is. Leveling up can be an enjoyable experience, but the speed at which you do it can actually enhance the level of enjoyment rather than decrease it. Lore buffs might say, well, you haven't got all of the lore. You haven't read all of the quest text. You haven't spent all this time appreciating the background story of the blah, blah, blah. You know what? Some of us don't care about that. And if we did, we wouldn't use Recruit a Friend. If we wanted to go through at normal speed and read all of the quest text to get all of the background story, that's up to us, but we would do it. We would make that decision ourselves. So to say that, oh, well, you miss out on the background lore is, quite frankly, BS, because some of us don't care. In fact, a lot of us don't care. To the extent of background lore that I actually care about is it a big monster? Is the big monster has background story? Yes, no. Yes, it has background story. We kill it for loots, and we go back next week to kill it for loots again. We has to loots. That is pretty much all I care about. I care about a good fight with someone who might have quotes that I may recognize, or might have abilities that, hey, they did that in the other games. You know, it's novelty value. That's all it is to me. I don't care. Background story is irrelevant. Design is what bothers me. You know, fun value is what bothers me. And I'm not alone in this. So, I think that argument holds very little water whatsoever. Now, here's the other argument. Is it acceptable? Is it cheapening the game experience? Well, as regards to cheapening the experience of other people, you know, and people like me who have done all of this stuff, and we did it the hard way, I don't feel any kind of ire towards people who use the Recruit a Friend program. Indeed, I'm using it and getting benefit from it. Yeah, I did it the hard way. Yes, it was harder for me. That doesn't mean it has to be hard for everybody else. That didn't actually add value to the game. That wasn't actually fun. Here's a revelation for you. Getting ganked, not fun. Ganking, fun. And it doesn't balance itself out. You wish it did, you know, you get them as good as they got me, but that's not actually always how it works. And that's not fun. And leveling up, I quit like 5 times before level 60. 5 times! I stopped playing the game, so I'm like, I am not going to ever get to level 60. This is so boring. It is taking so long. Because leveling is something I hate. It's kind of crazy that I even play MMOs when I hate leveling. But, I don't know, the social aspect of the game and the persistent characters actually overrides that for me somewhat, and I think, hey, it'll be worth it. And it was worth it. Once I got to 60 and I did my raiding, and I did all of that kind of stuff, yes, it was worth it. And no, I'm not looking forward to doing 70 to 80 at all. I want to get back to 80, I want to raid. Now that I've had a taste of it, I want to get back to it. Yeah. It's like tasting blood. So, no, I do not believe that cheapens the experience of everybody else. It is a new style of play. It is choice. It's like a new game mode. Take a look at other game genres. Game genres that you think, well, okay, this seems to be pretty good. Look at, say, first-person shooters, competitive first-person shooters. You look at them, and you say, well, this is perfectly fine. But no, for some people it's not perfectly fine. Some people require extra modes, extra ways of playing. Some people play Instagib low-grav. Some people play Counter-Strike. Some people play TF2, you know. All kind of relatively similar concepts going on there. A lot of the same mechanics, but very different ways to play. Some people will play Unreal Tournament, and they'll play Capture the Flag. Some people play Team Deathmatch. Some people play Onslaught. Some people play Warzone. There are all different ways to play the same kind of game. Now, PvE, PvP, and RP, that's not really good enough, you know. Saying that the PvP playstyle is different to the PvE playstyle, certainly in this day and age, is a fallacy. All it is it adds extra annoyance. And it's like, I can kill it, or it can kill me, and it can delay my questing, and that's about it. So, to say that those are different playstyles, no. Adding a new game, they're effectively adding a new game mode in here, and that's good. That's choice. It's not just the illusion of choice, it is actual choice. How can you hate that? You be hating? I don't understand. Now, I've got about 10 minutes left of the show. I've got the illusion of choice and the shoutouts to get in here, so I'm going to shorten the music break to 26 seconds. So I found a track that is, in fact, 26 seconds in length. And please do not tell me. There we go. Sorry, it looked like my computer had locked up there for a moment. I need to reformat this thing. So yeah, it's 26 seconds of rando psycho math noise. Yay! You're not going to like this. 60 seconds of random math noise. Wonderful. That was the music break. I am here again. That didn't give me enough time to breathe, let alone get a drink or anything. It doesn't matter, because I'm too hardcore for that kind of thing. This is TotalBiscuit. This is Blue Plz on WoW Radio. And we've got like 10 minutes left of the show. Just a quick reminder to you guys who don't already know. Soon on the website, you're going to be seeing something cool. We're going to be showing you how our interactive schedule is going to work for BlizzCon. We've just got all of the gear we need for BlizzCon. We're broadcasting everything live for free for everybody. Screw you, DirecTV. Actually, that's kind of mean. You know, it would be cool to watch the DirecTV coverage as well, because we're not going to be doing all that much video, although we will be doing some. But yeah, we will be doing live audio, and it's going to be great. Every panel, every announcement, everything. It's all going to be there, all for free, and if you miss it, you're going to be able to download it afterwards, and you can click on anything you want on our little schedule, and you'll be able to tune into those streams directly. Not only that, but we're running a studio stream, and what does that mean? That means all of your favourite shows are going to be there in variety of crazy different ways. Who knows, we might even have an epic. Yes, I did just say epic. Yeah, I've been waiting all day to use that. So yeah, we might even have an epic. Myself and Kiki Jiki are gonna be there. We might be in the studio together. We might host an epic. We'll see. It might happen. All of your favourite shows, live WoW Insider Show from BlizzCon. All going to happen in our studio. Not only that, loads of interviews. Tons and tons of interviews we're going to be bringing to the studio. We're going to be having interviews with everyone we can get our hands on. If necessary, we will be using rope and chloroform to bring them into the studio to ensure that they do interview with us. They might be a bit groggy, but we will get that interview, damn it. That's just the way it's going to be. Now, a little less about BlizzCon, a little bit more about the illusion of choice. Now, the illusion of choice. What happens in the illusion of choice? We pick something from the mailbox to pick as our last topic. And I'm going to have to cover it very, very quickly because I've got about 2 minutes for shout-outs at the end. I've got 8 minutes left of the show. And, yeah. Awesome. So here we go. Illusion of choice. It's coming out. And here it is. Solandis, Karak. This is a random pick. This actually is a random pick. I picked a random email here. I might not even be able to go for this one. From Sisters of Balloon. Solandis is my rep paladin I raid with. Core is the lowly lock alt. Hey there, TotalBiscuit. Insanity ensuing. In your latest show already, I see the achievement system of coming in Wrath seems to be exciting throngs of WoW players with a shiny points and competitive atmosphere that guilds will probably have on who is the latest achiever ever. Of course, we all have hopes and such on what kind of crazy things or out-of-the-way goals people will be striving for to get that next 10 points. Hardcore raid achievements, where you kill the final boss with 1 out of 5, without 1 out of 5 of your raid, 8 out of 10, or 20 out of 25 for listeners that didn't pass algebra. Seems like interesting delves into the unique and hopefully similar achievements like Leroy, killing 50 rookery whelps in a set time. While titles are certainly something I'm going to look forward to, my actual question is, what kind of achievements are you hoping to see people going for? There should be plenty of imaginative bits and pieces in WoW that can be made known with achievements. Personally, I think the Cthulhu Kill should have a calamari/calamari achievement. I'd like to hear your opinion on the topic. We enjoy your opinion. I really cannot imagine why. So, yeah. Okay, my opinion on achievements. That is a great question. Now, I like the idea of giving people a variety of different goals, even if those goals are totally frivolous. For me, WoW has always been a goal-driven game. You have to have a goal ahead of you, otherwise you lose steam. Jen's the same. You know, Jen will go for the most ridiculous stuff. She bought that title, you know, that silly 1,000-odd gold title? She bought that just because she could. It was a goal. She got an epic flyer. And then she went and ground Netherdrake rep to get one of those as well. It's like, okay, you know, she did the quest, she got her exalted with the Sky Guard and got that Nether Ray, and like, I instead want a Netherdrake, so she went and ground up for that. Okay, what else? Okay, let's go get the title. Let's grind up for another epic mount and buy TotalBiscuit one. That's a great idea, you know, buy TotalBiscuit an epic mount. Let's get one of those 3,000 gold bags from House Pilton, you know. All of these things, for some of us, we balk at this kind of thing. We're like, what are you playing at? You really want to do that? What a waste. But some people like that. So achievements are a great way of adding in all of these tertiary goals into the game. Someone is going to go for it. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, latest achievements coming out, get 75 mounts. 75! I can barely afford the one that I have. 75 mounts? Good lord. Why would you need that many? It's like, which mount shall I ride today? I've got all of these. Not only that, of course, but to get 75 mounts, you're going to have to get rep with innumerable different factions. But loads of people are going to go for it. Why? Well, the reward is, I believe, an albino nether drake, if I recall correctly, something like that, or it's either that or a black warbear, one way or the other. Unique mounts. People like collecting mounts. That is a goal, you know. It is a goal that some people enjoy. And if you can cater to a playstyle without sacrificing the playstyle of other people, you should put it in the game. Always said this. I've never had a problem with Blizzard putting things in the game that I personally do not have a use for, because someone somewhere is going to have a use for it. As long as it doesn't go in at the expense of the things I enjoy, I'm cool with it. Achievements are exactly the same thing. I am cool with there being 500 million achievements for all manner of different things, even if 400 and what am I starting? 495,000 or whatever. Even if I can't even get half of them, it wouldn't make a difference to me. I never was any good at math. No, sorry, guys. It wouldn't make a difference to me if I couldn't get all of them, and I'm cool with that. Some people want to get all of them. Some people will probably spend their entire lives trying to get all of them. That is their own problem. But if someone wants to get it, and someone gets joy out of it, then I would be the most arrogant and vindictive bastard in the world if I said, no, you can't have fun here. You can only have fun my way. So yeah, that's my opinion on achievements there. Shout-outs, folks. Shout-out time. Got shout-outs for the last few minutes of the show. Yes, indeed, the last few minutes of the show. So send your shout-outs to me at themoloch@gmail.com or come on IRC. That's irc.mmoirc.com. # #WoW Radio. Any special messages you have for your friends, family, spouses, loved ones, dogs, pets, hamsters, spoon dogs, send them to me. You can do so. irc.mmoirc.com. I'm TB Tilda on the air. And it's # WoW Radio. You can find me in there, or you can talk to me on my email address, themoloch@gmail.com. And those of you asking whether or not there is going to be a show this week, I'm going to be brutally honest, I have no idea. This is Wild Things Considered. I don't know. Nobody tells me anything these days, really. Nobody tells me anything, so I have no idea. If there's a show after this, there might be, but I can say that Dunko isn't around at the moment, and I ain't covering for it. Let me put it that way. So yeah, this might be your only show tonight, and if that's the case, I do apologise. I'll make them be doubly awesome next week, or whatever time they happen to get back online. One quick congratulations. Those of you who don't know, Cadwellian's getting married in a couple of days, so having tied the knot with the crazy internet lady, I totally understand. Really. I know how it is. It was awesome for me. I enjoyed it very much. I'm still glad that I did it. So, best of luck. And enjoy 80 years of being whipped and under the thumb. Because, good lord, is it awesome. Now, shout-outs. Shout-out time to Old Magma Guild on Anachronus. That's from Minnie. You got a shout-out to With the Saber Cats, because I just ground the rep to get one. That is from Stormtamer. Shammy Rock says, TB, can I get a shout-out to the Nearly Deads and the Shammy-Rocks AONR EU level 70 Gnome Mage. Excellent. Can I get a shout out to my level 9 Bright Wizard? No! You're terrible! Bright Wizards are imbalanced, I hate you. Stop rolling that class. Bloody things one-shot me. Shout out to Turnrocks on Burning Legion EU, who has moved his mage from server to server a grand total of 13 times. Wow, that even beats me. I bet you haven't destroyed 13 guilds, though, because I have. Hey, TB, I hope I'm doing this right. I usually don't attend live shows. I was wondering if I could get a shout out to my guild, Vini Vidi Vici on Ico Isles. That's from DFan. Very cultured there. I like that. I like the use of Latin there. A shout out to Christ Senior of Earthen Ring EU for growing feathers just for me. Growing feathers? I assume he'd rolled a moonkin. Oh, what a horrible idea that was. Hey, TB, you wanted to ask for a shout out to everyone in the IRC. That's from Aloe. Yay! It's like buying a round for everyone in there. It's kind of cool, but everyone still thinks you're just looking for attention. Buying a shout out, not so great. I'm sure they probably don't appreciate it, but never mind. Maybe I'm just being overly cynical. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know anything. Shout-out from James Mills. He wants to give a shout-out to his guild Grim on Shattered Halls US. We downed Illidan for the first time last night. That's from Boss Wally. That's his name. Boss Wally, actually one of the winners of our ad contest, so hopefully he's enjoying his beta key. And yes, quick reminder to those of you who got beta keys. If your beta keys don't work, Blizzard made a boo-boo and sent us the wrong keys. So we have new keys for you if your key does not work. Contact me at themillock@gmail.com, TotalBiscuit@gmail.com, whatever you prefer. And I will get it sorted out for you. Really, I will. We've got time for one more shout-out before I end the show tonight. No, I am not doing another shout-out for you, Aloe, because clearly you're just looking for attention. Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. So here's one. Shout-out to House Cadies on Sisters of Balloon from Solandus. Sasheen is a sexy beast. Really? Okay. Well, I am done, folks. My name is TotalBiscuit. This has been Blue Plz. I will see you on Monday for TotalBiscuit Show about video games. And just a quick reminder that on October the 6th, we'll be having an interview with the one and only Angry Video Game Nerd. If you haven't seen his stuff, you can check out the front page. If you are easily offended by swearing, I would suggest that you do not watch it. Let me put it that way. Now, I'll be playing you out on a lovely little track that I do enjoy. It's a shortened version of it. It's Eric Clapton with Layla. Thank you for listening, folks. My name has been TotalBiscuit. Check out the rest of our shows at wcradio.com, and if you want to appreciate and if you want to donate, that is entirely up to you. That would be awesome. It's wildradiodonations@gmail.com to do that. Now, one last reminder. I'm not quite done. I've got too much information. You want to win a Blizzard Authenticator? Go and review us on iTunes. We're going to be giving them away 3 randomly. Please be honest. I don't like dishonesty. That's the thing I least enjoy. You know, if there's a mistake, we need to know about it, because otherwise, how could we correct it, really? My name has been TotalBiscuit. This is WoW Radio, and this has been my show, Blue Plz. I love it. Hopefully you love it too. Thank you ever so much for listening. You guys have been awesome tonight. This is Layla. Good night. You have been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz, a show exclusive to WoW Radio. All WoW Radio shows are originally broadcast live, and you can listen to this one on Fridays at 5:30 EST, that's 10:30 British Standard Time, at wcradio.com. Your support is appreciated, and donations are always welcome via PayPal at wowradiodonations@gmail.com or via the donation button on our website. We appreciate your feedback. Feel free to review our shows on iTunes, rate us on dig.com, and post on the forums, where constructive criticism is always welcome. Thank you for listening.